so we can talk about the NBA now, man. I think
Ah,
number one. I want to talk about the Lakers first, right?
yeah.
I just want to tell everybody I fucking told you so. All you niggas out there who were like, damn, the Lakers finna be nice. They finna be great. They got Russ, Melo, Trevor. Fuck off, nigga. Shut the fuck up. Let me talk real quick. All you niggas is dumb. Everybody knew that the Lakers needed defense and shooting. They signed Melo. Not trying to hate on Melo, but Melo for his career from shooting from three is like 36, 37%. That's not terrible, but that's not a sniper. That's not the type of player you need. And Melo's not playing defense at this age at all. Melo's never really been a great defender, period, but he's damn sure is not playing defense at 37 years old. You get Trevor Ariza. He's old, injury prone. I'm not, he hasn't really even. He's played a couple games, but
he don't
he
even
didn't
have
really.
that. You don't even have that corner three no more.
That's what I'm saying. He's a washed version of himself.
Right.
You get Kendrick Nunn. That's he's a decent player, but where the fuck he been at? I don't even think bro's played one game for him. You see what I'm saying? Like Kendrick Nunn has been a no-so. He just hasn't been there. They had Rondo, had to trade Rondo because Rondo, at the end of the day,
I hope you know where I'm going to go in terms of criticizing the Lakers.
I'm saving him for last. I'm saving him for
last. No. It's not. It may not be who you think it is.
I'm saving them for last. It's okay. I there's two people I really want to criticize. Right?
Okay. Cool.
Now we get to the two people I really want to criticize. Right?
Please do the one.
Start with Anthony Davis first, man. I'm gonna start with Anthony fucking Davis.
Thank you. What the? No, let me. Hold on.
Street clothes.
The best ability is availability. If you're not on the fucking court, how are you gonna produce? I never understood what it was with Anthony Davis. You have the potential of being a top 5, top 10 basketball player in the league for years upon years, right? We almost gave you that crown when you did what you did in the finals of 2020 in the bubble. You hit the game winner against the Nuggets or whatever, had a stellar performance, in the finals or whatever. Love it, right? Next year, you get injured again, you know what I'm saying? And when you were on the court, you know what I'm saying, you wasn't producing, you were having a hard time getting up and down the court, you had a hard time being aggressive when it came to scoring in the paint or whatever. You don't want to go in the post, you don't want to do the hard work. Fine, cool, whatever. We get to this year, dog, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you're literally a shell of yourself this fast. How are you the shell of yourself this fast and you're supposed to be in your prime as a player? Right, you're supposed to be your apex in your career, right? You just won the championship 2 years ago. How the fuck are you a shell of yourself already? And my thing is like, okay, you're in the Lakers franchise, right? I'm pretty sure they have all the resources in the world to keep your body upright, right? They can do all the therapy in the world. They have all the hell. You're with LeBron. That's your main man, LeBron. He spends $1 million over his body. I guarantee you, he can reference you to certain places where you can take care of your body, do this, do that, train, like at one point, do we start criticizing these players, these injury prone players, you know what I'm saying, for being injury prone because they're not taking care of their bodies as opposed to it just being in a unfortunate sequence of events. Like, now you are in a position where you have all the things in the world to take care of your body and you're still not doing it. And then you can even take that part out. When you are on the court, you are a shell of yourself. I don't know what it is. And my thing is like, fine, if you can't rebound as much as you want to do, if you can't be that tenacious or whatever, you still have a good jump shot. You still have to know how to play basketball. You still have a decent mid range. Why are you being so passive? You're supposed to be one of the best big men in the league, and we don't even talk about you no more. Like, we literally don't. You just won a championship 2 years prior, and now we don't even talk about you. And you're part of the biggest organization in basketball. I've been very disappointed in Anthony Davis this year and even last year too, because I don't understand, and I never will understand, how a person that great can shrink in such a quick pace. Like, that's just my spill. Like, it just pissed me off.
So I'm not gonna say. So yes, Anthony Davis' efficiency has dropped significantly. In terms, like, especially from his 3-point range, but he's still producing. I think he averages like 26 points in his career. He's still, giving you 24 points. Yes. he's sort of declined on the defense end. He did decline, but I think, at the end of the day, him missing shows the Lakers' really biggest weakness is they don't play no fucking defense. And like Anthony Davis was the one player out there that if he wasn't doing anything else, he was playing defense. And so just losing him really shows that, their defense is really shit. Which, you kind of went in on Anthony Davis, everything I was going to say, which brings me to my last and final player. Shout out to my nigga Leon.
I actually am not gonna go that hard on Russ.
I'm finna shred this nigga, bro. Nah, I'm really finna shred the front office first, but I'm still finna shred this nigga Russ, right? Russell Westbrook. You're the Lakers, right? You need shooting and you need defense. And you go out and you get Russell Westbrook. Somebody who gives you neither.
I'm okay, so I'm not gonna go that far. He most definitely doesn't give you shooting. He gives you effort.
He does not give
He gives effort on defense.
No, he does not.
Every once in a while.
No.
Not this year. Not this year.
I'm talking about this year. No, he hasn't done shit.
I'm about to say not this year, but if we're saying hindsight, when they got him, they're like, fine.
Malcolm, for the past like 2, 3, 4 years, he has not been playing defense. This nigga, like, if I can, bro, I want you to go back.
But here's the thing. In hindsight, if I'm the Lakers, I understand. Hindsight, if I'm the Lakers, I'm the biggest market or whatever. He gets a chance to play for the Lakers with LeBron and AD. You're automatically assuming like that same effort that he had with OKC. I'm not signing him, but I can tell you. I was telling people I would not have put Russ on. I can tell you why they signed him off of the strength of them thinking that the Lakers and the Laker culture and and LeBron and AD were strong enough to transform him into a person that could. And they was most definitely wrong.
They don't know shit. That's what it comes down to, nigga. They don't know shit. Russ, at the end of the day, Russ is a terrible shooter. It just is what it is. He just can't shoot the ball. And defensively, the thing that kills me is with all his athletic intangibles and everything, he could be a good to great defender if he wanted to. The problem is he doesn't put in the effort. And there are clips like damn near 15, 20, 30-minute videos of YouTube filled with clips of Russell Westbrook falling asleep on the defensive end, allowing 3-point shooters in the corner open, allowing free cuts, just sort of just wandering through. And like when you go on ESPN, you hear people talk about, Russ plays with great effort and great energy. If there's one thing about Russ, he's going to give you everything he has. That's true when he has the ball in his hands. If you look at how he plays without having the ball, he's not great. He's terrible off the ball. He can't give you shooting. He can cut, sure, but what people don't realize is when you look at league averages, Russ has been finishing at a below league average at the rim for the past 4 or 5 years now. He hasn't been great at finishing. His mid-range game has really fallen off. He hasn't been great there. He hasn't been great from three. And sorry, he gets you a lot of assists, but those assists often come with a bunch of turnovers. A lot of times he's very careless with the ball. And I think part of that
is abysmal.
I think part of his problem with his turnovers is just that he plays at one speed, and it's just as fast as he can go when he has the ball. And I think that's really, you can really get the contrast between him and somebody like a Chris Paul, where Chris Paul, if you look at Chris Paul through a possession, he can go full speed. He might slow down. It depends what the defense is giving him. That depends on the speed he's going to go at. Whereas Russ is, I'm just going to run full speed. Russ is like the Tasmanian fucking devil. He only knows one way to play, and he's going to play that. So I think the Lakers thinking, oh, maybe he'll adjust to, no, he wasn't going to adjust. Everybody at this point should know who the fuck Russell Westbrook is. Russell is not going to adjust his game at all. And I think it's funny when like he's being criticized in these interviews and like people are talking about, you turn the ball. He's like, well, why can't I turn over the ball? Nobody's saying you can't turn over the ball, Russ. People are trying to point out that the rate that you're turning over the ball is significantly hurting your team and should be unacceptable for people that we're supposed to hold to your standards. It's unacceptable. You're supposed to be this big star, and all these turnovers you have are part of the reason why you're costing your team games. Your lackluster shooting, your piss poor shooting is costing your team games, right? And so I remember people being optimistic, especially Lakers fans. Oh, he's not gonna have to do that much, man. He's playing with LeBron, man. He can adjust, man. He's not gonna have to really do that much. I'm like, y'all don't know who Russell Westbrook is, bro. And I'm like, y'all needed two
He
things.
has to have a hand in the game.
He has
Like,
to
that's
have the
him.
he if he doesn't have the ball, he's not going to have an
I
effective.
wouldn't even say the ball, but he
That's
most
how it is.
definitely
No,
wants
no,
that influence over the game. He most definitely wants that influence
no.
over the
Like,
game.
bro, Malcolm, go look at every game. I'm telling you, if Russ doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's literally not doing shit.
That's true.
He's not. It's just how he is. He's just not doing shit. And part of it is like on the defensive end, he just can't. Offensive end, the only thing he can really do is cut to the basket. Cool. It's a game that's driven from the perimeter out.
No,
Corner three. It's either corner. You want to get a corner three, or you want to get a layup. That's essentially what the league has come down to. Those are the two most efficient shots on the floor: corner three and a layup. But I remember all these people telling me, oh, it's a good. No, y'all don't know Russell Westbrook. I've been a huge Russell Westbrook fan. I know I don't sound like it, but I'm always very critical of the people who are my favorite players. Always very critical of them. Just that, I mean, it's just not who he is, man. Y'all, the Lakers were expecting him, and Lakers fans were expecting him to be somebody that he's just incapable of being because that's not who he is. To sum it up, and I think I said this on an earlier episode in the podcast, but to sum it up, basically what Russell Westbrook is he's a floor raiser, but not a ceiling raiser. So he'll raise the worst that your team could be. Your team's not going to be as worse as it could be without Russ, but he's not going to make your team he's not going to raise your team ceiling. He's not going to take your team to new heights. He's just going to keep it. So like with the Wizards, he took the Wizards from a team that at the worst were going to miss the playoffs to a team at the worst they were going to make the playoffs that year. He didn't raise their ceiling because with or without Russ, if they made the playoffs, they were still going to be a first round exit. He didn't change that. They had Russ, they were still a first round exit. Russ doesn't raise your ceiling. He didn't take the Wizards from a team that could make the playoffs and go to like the conference finals or the second round. He took a team that if they made the playoffs, they were first round exit. They make the playoffs, they're first round exit. So he just changes the floor. So he took the Wizards from, at worst they're going to be a playoff team, but they're a first round exit. Whereas without Russ, at best they're a playoff team, but they're still gonna get bounced in the first round. So that's how I describe Russ. Second team I want to talk about, the Nets. It's been tough. With the 8th seed right now, I think we're scary. If you haven't noticed, the Celtics are the number 1 seed. Not saying they don't deserve
They
it.
went on a
They've been going
streak,
on a tear, but
and they were looking abysmal at first. That's crazy.
Yeah, and part of me feels like the Heat, who were the number 1 seed before the Celtics, looked and said, do we really want to play the Nets the first round? Because the Nets are one of, if not the best team in the East. I still think the Bucks are probably a better overall team just because the Nets have Kyrie and KD. That's great offensive power, but again, like back when we were trading for James Harden, I was somebody who didn't want that just because I already knew our defense was going to get gutted because we actually had, if you had KD and Kyrie on the court, and we still had people like Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen. We still had pieces that, we had some defense and we had depth. And those are two things we lost with James Harden that we've been struggling to try to find ever since. But, KD was hurt for a good little run. Kyrie wasn't able to play in any games, and he was able to play in just away games. Now he can play every game. So I definitely feel like the Nets would probably be at worst 3rd seed if they had KD and Kyrie play the whole season. But it is what it is. They're probably gonna be the 8th seed, and I feel bad for whoever the 1 seed is because that's gonna be a tough ass series.
Yeah,
to play. It's just like that.
The East.
That's not a series you want.
The East is looking like a toss up again. Like back then, I used to have your front runners, and
I don't think it's a toss up. I think it's between two teams. I'm gonna say.
It's more competitive. Like I would say, it's way more competitive than it has been. I would say it's way more competitive for sure. Because I think the Bulls are gonna give like they're I feel like they're a second round team. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Bulls fan. I just like I like our team when we're healthy. I like our team. Obviously, the Bucks. I got the Bucks making it to the Eastern Conference Finals again. I'm not, and like I've always been, is you can call me a hater. I don't really care. Not really big on Philly, even with like the James Harden
Not
addition.
big. I'm not big on Philly.
I'm like they never showed me anything that showed me that like they're on an upward trend towards being like another disappointing team
How do I
in the
say this?
playoffs.
The problem with the Sixers has always been their second star has always underperformed in the playoffs every year.
Then Joel ends up
Joel
getting
Embiid, I
getting
mean, yeah,
hurt.
he's kind of injury prone, but last year and the year before, he didn't really get hurt in the playoffs, right? He played great in the playoffs last year, especially was excellent. Ben Simmons underperformed at the end of the day, and sure, I did like the trade. I think both teams benefited a lot from that trade. You know, the Nets were able to get Seth Curry and Ben Simmons, even though he has a herniated disc. I'm pretty sure that's why he ain't played. So, but you know, that gives us a little bit more depth, and that also gives us something that we were really lacking in defense, especially with Ben Simmons. Because say what you want about Ben Simmons, but Ben Simmons is a damn good defender. He can defend on the perimeter, but he's also a great facilitator. I think the Nets really suit him because at best he's gonna be a fourth option
Mm-hmm.
because you got Kyrie, KD was 1A, 1B, then you have Seth, and then it's Ben Simmons. You know what I'm saying? So I think that benefits him because now he doesn't have to be, you know, he doesn't have the pressure. Where in Philly, he was sort of looked at, you have to be the second option because you're the second star. That's sort of your role. Whereas now he's like the third, he would be at best the third star in that team. So I think that's a great situation for him. But again, you know, I did like the trade, but at the end of the day, James Harden plus playoffs equals terrible performances. He might give you one or two great games, but he's going to give you a lot of ass and a lot of shit ass games. And I think part of it is because his game is, you know, it's what the analytics want it to be. It's centered around the three and the layup and getting a foul. And one thing that we've all noticed about playoff basketball is you don't
They
get
let
this,
them
you
play.
don't get the
They
foul
let them
calls as
play.
often. And so James Harden, a lot of the times when he was dropping like 30, 40 points, you would see you would look at his free throw attempts. He was getting like 12, 13, 14, sometimes even 15 attempts at the free throw line. And so when you're no longer getting those and you're only getting like maybe 5, 6 at the free throw line, that takes a lot of the sting out of your scoring threat. But also just James Harden, just I don't know what it is. It's just he gets under them playoff lights and he just can't perform anymore. So you know that's why I don't really like the Sixers. Really comes down to the fact that I trust Embiid. I trust pretty much everybody else on that team except for Doc Rivers because even though Doc Rivers has a championship, he's still known for playoff breakdowns. You know, just melted down in the playoffs. They did it against the Hawks. Um, they did it against Doc Rivers did the same shit with the Clippers when they were up 3-1 against the Nuggets in the bubble. Um, Doc Rivers just he has this history of sort of having these meltdowns in the playoffs with the Clippers too, where they were up like 3-1 against the Rockets, and the Rockets ended up winning that series. Um, so with Doc Rivers combined with James Harden, there's sort of inconsistencies in the playoffs. That's a team that makes me nervous. So I really think it's really only three contenders in the East, and it's really comes down between the Bucks, the Nets, and the Celtics. I really like the Celtics, but at the end of the day, the Bucks are still the best. In my opinion, the Bucks, even though they're not the number one seed, the Bucks are still the best team, the best overall team in the East.
My boy Giannis. Can we
But
talk about my dog? Before we
hey,
go on? Can we talk about the progression, the evolution,
I want
the
to
grace, the
before we even talk about
grace?
that, I want to talk about the disrespect that they be giving Giannis. Everybody has been on. Not saying John Morant hasn't been great, but everybody's been on John Morant's dick this season, and they have refused to mention people like Jokic and Giannis who are having great seasons as well. Like Giannis is 27 years old, and he's a two-time MVP, Finals MVP, has a ring, Defense Player of the Year, some I want to say maybe 2, 3 all defensive teams, probably like 4 all NBA teams. Like for 27 years old, he's had a better career than probably 90% of people who
A
ever
lot
touched
of
the court.
players.
And I think like he's just phenomenal. Same thing with Jokic. He's been phenomenal all year. Um, but I will say this: the Suns are my favorite to win the finals this year.
See,
At first,
last year
at the beginning,
when I said don't be surprised if the Suns
I
keep
wasn't
the
gonna be
same
surprised.
roster and comes back and
That's
like
what I'm saying.
like
I think people thought it was a fluke just because of all these injuries. I'm like, I don't think people
they've
understand
always
the
had the
Suns.
pieces.
It's not even that. That Suns team is legitimately a good team. Like it wasn't even a fluke year. That's a good team. The Lakers right now are not a good team. They weren't a good team last year. They're not a good team this year. The Warriors were my favorite at the beginning of the season because they started so hot. They didn't even have Clay yet. They've sort of simmered down. Steph Curry has,
Sort of. They're
it's been a
lukewarm
lot.
as
I
hell.
mean,
But
they're Steph's injured. I think Clay is a
right.
little hurt still.
Nah, Steph
Um,
is out indefinitely.
yeah, but Steph hasn't been. But even before he got out, Steph wasn't even really playing that well, anyways. Because if you
After he
look,
broke the record, he's
even
been
before he broke the record, like sure he was still giving you 30, but like if you look at in terms of Steph efficiency wise, I think he was shooting like 42% from three, which is cool, but you're used to seeing Steph shoot like 43, 44, 45% from three. And he was shooting like 42% from the field, I think, which you're used to Steph shooting upper 40, like 48 to like 52, 53% from the field. And so his volume was there at the beginning of the season, but his efficiency wasn't there. And like he broke the record and it just started really going downhill from there. So he's been kind of like really just lackluster. Not saying he hasn't had good games since, even though he's out indefinitely, but he just hasn't been the same type of player. Um, what else? The Nuggets, I still think Nuggets not having Jamal Murray really hurts them just because that 2-man game of him and Jokic, Murray and Jokic is just phenomenal, and that's hard to stop. But they don't have that anymore at the moment. So they don't have the pieces. I think the Suns are the best team in the league, and I think they'll get it this year. I think they get over the hump. I think they win the championship this year.
that's draw the line.
I think not. Who
But no, they're
I
good
think they
enough to
do.
win. They are good enough to win.
I think if because at the end of the day, I think the only team who can really give them fits, I see them not really having really too much trouble going through the Western Conference. Really, I think the Warriors might be the only team that they sort of get hung up on, but everybody else, I'm like, I don't see them really having trouble with like the Nuggets, the Lakers if they have to play them. Who else? Like the Mavericks, see them having trouble with them. Like I don't really see them having any trouble in the West. The Clippers, they don't have Kawhi. Paul George just came back, sorry, but they don't have Kawhi at the end of the day. So they're not. All these teams are sort of hurt, but they also I don't think they are up to the same type of standard that the Grizzlies are good, but I don't think the Grizzlies have anything for the Suns. In the 7-game series. So I think really the only team that really has a chance of beating them is the Bucks. I think the Bucks are just the perfect storm for the Suns. But
A rematch.
also, I could see a rematch happening. I don't think it does. I think KD and Kyrie might be able to get over that hump, but it wouldn't surprise me if they don't, if they get bounced in the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think the Suns do get over that hump this year just because now they have the experience and they've gone through it, and now sort of the Bucks also didn't have that experience, but I think now having been there and not won, I think that just gives them that little more slight of an edge. I think the Suns win it all this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
You already know what I'm running with. My fucking books. Nah, but no, I agree with you. I do think that the Suns are completely well-rounded, have all the pieces that they need to win. I would love to see a rematch. Kind of sad because like you mentioned before, the Warriors were starting off hot. Curry was in his bag once again. Then he cooled down, ended up getting injured, getting another major injury that inevitably made him out indefinitely. And it's crazy because we just got Clay back, so it's like it's such an unfortunate situation, but it's lovely to see Clay back in form. I still think the Warriors are good enough to win first round. After that, I don't know, but I still think they're good enough to win first round. Outside of that, I know, like you said, a lot of people been on the Ja Morant train. You still have we didn't talk about Luka, which is kind of blasphemy that we didn't talk about Luka, but it's because it's got to a point where he plays so well and is so consistent to the point where At this point, it's a normality. Like at this point, because a year ago or 2 years ago, he was still like on the up and coming scene, and so like, we'll see the stuff that he do, and we'll be like utterly impressed. And now that light has kind of been shifted towards Ja Morant, the next, not the newer up and comer that is doing incredible things. But I still think that it's just crazy to see how good, like how the league is in good hands. Like Luka is young, still have Giannis, still have Ja. You know what I'm saying? Like we have a
Let's just talk
bunch of
about hold on. Let's just talk about the 25 and younger. You still got Jason Tatum.
yes, JB.
You still got Jalen Brown, yeah, but I think Jason Tatum's the real
Yeah,
big
for
star in
sure.
that league for sure. You can say Jalen Brown. You still got Donovan Mitchell under 25. You got John Murray. You got Luca. You got Devin Booker. He's still under 25. I feel like he's been in
Yeah,
the league for like fucking ever. He's still on. He's not even 25 yet. Like the league is in very good hands for sure. Um, but the reason why we don't, I think Luca is in a LeBron type of situation that he was in the Cavs, his first rotation in with the Cavs. He's playing great, but he's with a team and an organization that right now is not doing their part in helping surrounding him with the parts and pieces he needs so that
absolutely.
they can he
Mhm,
can elevate that team to the next level, to a championship caliber type team. I
mhm.
think that's what they're missing. And I think they thought they might have had that with Kristaps and Luca, which I thought was gonna be a nasty little duo, but Kristaps
The same way we thought Steve Nash and Dirk was going to be the
just not
duo.
that.
Dallas is as a
It's
thing of
just not that.
not keeping the
The end of the day, Dirk didn't need another star. Dirk didn't need another star on his team. He just needed himself and everybody else to be solid on the team. And look what he did. Shitting on that nigga, Braun. Nigga.
But no, I'm very excited to see what happens during playoff time. It's around the corner. It's already
It's
shit
like
in two
what,
days.
13 games left?
In 2 days, it's April. So it's like we're around the corner. Um, it's gonna be very interesting to see all the new storylines going into the playoffs. And like, because the way I see it, let's say the Suns go back and win, right? Chris Paul gets his first championship. Chris Paul shows you what longevity looks like at the point guard position, right? Because how many point guards have been around as long as Chris Paul and is still putting up good numbers, still a floor general, hasn't regressed per se. I feel like a lot of people, just because Chris Paul doesn't drop 20 a night doesn't mean he plays bad. That's not his role anymore. Like he's a full-on floor general. He can score if he wants to. I think people got it messed up. Like people just think that like just because he don't score don't mean he can't score. Like
Chris
Chris
Paul could easily
Paul,
drop 25 a night if he really wanted to.
right?
If he
Chris
don't,
Paul is a manager of the game. I know being a manager of the game in football is not has a negative connotation, but in basketball, it's the perfect thing to be because at the end of the day, you're controlling the pace of the game and you're making sure everything is where it needs to be in order for the team to succeed. So it would be very great to see Chris Paul win a championship after losing his first final last year. It'll be lovely to see my boy Giannis come back and get another championship. You know what I'm saying? Doing it the hard way. And this season is more impressive than his last season. What? Mid range? What? Pull up three? What? Dunk on him too? Post game? What are we talking about? This whole thing about all he do is drive to the basket. You can't say that. This year he's impressed the hell out of me. Like I knew it was I knew he was gonna have to eventually change his style to where like he can preserve his body, know how to rely on making jumpers. You know what I'm saying? Spot ups. They're gonna give him looks. They would much rather protect the lane than like press him and get passed off or whatever. But it's just incredible to see that now he's learned how to add other things to his arsenal, and he also already knows how to facilitate a little bit just because he knows the defense that he draws in when he's driving in or whatever. I'm just very impressed with just how quick of a turnaround that he's had in terms of like just adding more to his arsenal. Even though we can kind of seen the seeds in that game 7 where he literally did every fucking thing in that game. It's just great to see that now he has added more to his arsenal and he's understanding that the type of player he can be if he diversify his game, his bag, as us black people like to say. So yeah, no, that would be dope to see. And obviously the Bulls, but I don't think the Bulls are ready. I love their roster and I love the hunger that the team bring. They're fun to watch. I don't think they're ready though. And I honestly I don't foresee another team in the West outside of the Suns. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the. I would love to see like a Mavericks and Grizzlies series or whatever, just because like the light that Luca once had in the West is now on Ja, and I just love to see like the exchange between the teams. But outside of that, I don't really see like any other teams that will really like transcend into being like a championship contender. Outside of the Suns, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you still have the Utah, I guess. You still have the Nuggets, I guess. But we don't know what's going on with Murray. And like the Jazz are cool, but you know, like yeah. And then like I said in the East, like it's either the Bucks or the Nets are gonna make their surprise run. And I mean that's all there is to it. But I'm very excited to see what happens. Either way, I'll be happy if either the Suns or Bucks win, especially if the Bucks win. But I'm honestly am pulling for Chris Paul because both of those guys are my boys. And I would love to see Chris Paul get one. They split like go 1-1 against each other. And Chris Paul can kind of ride off on his high horse or whatever, and then when he's doing like his State Farm commercials, he can do it as like a future Hall of Famer as opposed to a ringless point guard, but it's been great chopping it up with you, man. Like I really enjoyed this. Like it's very therapeutic. Now I get to go and make some chicken at 12 o'clock.
Damn, it's
So,
already we're an hour and 33 minutes into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for what's next, I'm gonna post this episode in the coming days, but I'm also gonna start probably at least on Apple Music. I'm gonna start posting what I feel like are some of our best episodes, just to give people something to listen to if they want. We appreciate y'all being here with us. Let me get the music up again. We appreciate y'all being here with us, man. Just listen to us, being patient with us. We know we took this huge hiatus, but it was sort of one, a lot of things were going on in life. But two, just sort of having this second surge, this second charge, and I think we'll really be able to really build and really blow up from this one as long as we are here to be consistent. I think we'll really be able to explode. I think you'll realize and see a rise in the quality as well, just because and real quality and really also just listenability again, especially on YouTube, just with that breaking down each episode. But appreciate y'all for listening. Hope you have a good morning, a good day, a good evening, night, whenever the fuck you listening to this shit, man. Hillside, take us out, and it's all love, man. See y'all. This for my brothers and my sisters and my son and my crew. For them niggas that stood beside me when I ain't have a clue. A slimy nigga to the world, but he was soft, came to you. Picture me rolling with a wood inside a coupe with no roof.